Parkside Economic Development Corporation has served Leimert Park and surrounding communities, empowering tomorrow's leaders and changing lives. Parkside EDC has awarded over $400,000 in college scholarships while sharing economic principles of the Big Five of money with students and their families. Parkside EDC partners with organizations like the Brotherhood Crusade to assure our youth have the financial acumen to succeed. Parkside EDC provides families and businesses with financial insights, offering free online, on-site, and on-air B-Warp presentations. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Programs helps our community acquire, sustain, and pass down legacy wealth. High school seniors can apply for this year's scholarship awards at parksideedc.org. Scholarships will be awarded at Parkside EDC's Gospel/Jazz Brunch on Sunday, April the 27th. For details, tickets, or donations, please visit parksideedc.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes, we chanting a movement of people. It's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk health and black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the prisons is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind. Caress the mind and question justified. Where you and God in time are best aligned.
Live from Los Angeles, you're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm your host and White House correspondent, Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, checking in on a good Thursday. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. All you got to do is type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ. There I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. And there we are for your listening pleasure. Last but not least, have you subscribed to A More Perfect Union podcast powered by KBLA Talk 1580? Have you? Have you? Well, if you haven't, there's no time like the present. And speaking of being present, it was quite the gift to be with the people of Altadena yesterday at the KBLA Town Hall, the Altadena Eaton Fire 100 Days and Counting Town Hall. It was a very moving experience, a memorable experience on behalf of Tavis Smiley and Dominique DePrima, James Farr, and the whole KBLA Talk 1580 family. We were so pleased to be able to host an event like that and welcome our friends from across the country and around the world to stream in and check in. While so many media outlets have moved on to other stories, we are keeping our finger on the pulse of what's happening and what's not happening. What's not happening fast enough in Altadena and the Palisades for that matter. And so continue to check in with us right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Every Saturday, we have the show of record, Conversations Live, Altadena Rising, hosted by my new colleague, James Farr. And so make sure you set your alarm clocks for 10 a.m. Pacific every Saturday, 12 noon on Sundays. Also, our thanks to the sponsor of that event, Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers. They are also on the case, literally. Now, in other good news related to the fire, or I should say related to the recovery of the fire, LA Mayor Karen Bass had a pretty good update. She highlighted the completion of debris removal at the Palisades Branch Library, which was destroyed in the January wildfires, of course. The U.S. Army of Engineers, shout out to them, they cleared the property of all debris last week ahead of expectations following the mayor's call to prioritize public spaces in the debris removal process. The Army Corps was expected to complete the debris removal process at the library in 30 days. But guess what? They did it in 6 days. 6 days. And so there's some progress that you can lean on. Now it's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. It's time for your national news roundup, and kicking us off, not so good news coming from Florida. FSU shooting suspect has been ID'd. 2 have been pronounced dead. 6 are injured. USA Today is reporting that police say that the son of a local deputy, opened fire at Florida State University on April 17th. That was just today, killing 2 people and injuring at least 5 others in the latest school shooting to rock U.S. college campuses. The alleged gunman, identified as 20-year-old Phoenix Eichner, opened fire near the student union at approximately 11:50 a.m., striking multiple people and triggering a campus-wide lockdown as students ran for cover. That's according to the Florida State University police chief. And so our thoughts and prayers are with the families of those students. I can't imagine what it's like for anybody to send their kid to school, for anybody's brother or sister, sibling to go to school, and on a university campus, you're not safe from a gunman. In other news, the GRIO is reporting that Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says that U.S. autism cases are climbing at an alarming rate. The HHS Secretary warned that children in the U.S. are being diagnosed with autism at an alarming rate, but promised to conduct exhaustive studies to identify any environmental factors that may cause the development of the disorder. His call comes just a day after the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention released a report that found an estimated 1 in 31 U.S. children have autism, a marked increase from 2020. Autism experts applaud efforts to further understand the condition, but they say the number of reported cases began to balloon as the definition of the condition expanded to include mild cases. And so, we talk about it as being on a spectrum. And culturally, the more we talk about it in that way, the more that number grows, right? And so we want to make sure that we're getting to the bottom of it, but, we are not exaggerating any such figures. Next up, Essence Magazine reporting that Cheryl Lee Ralph receives a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, saying dreams don't have an expiration date. Our very own dream girl, she finally got her star on the prestigious Walk of Fame. Shirley Ralph has been in the show business for decades. And just yesterday, she was honored with the 2,808th star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame within the television category for her work that has been Emmy Award winning, particularly her role on Abbott Elementary as Barbara, Miss Barbara, to Moesha and her legendary run on Broadway as Dina in Dreamgirls. We applaud you, Shirley Ralph. And joining me live here in the studio is someone who's a friend of Cheryl Lee Ralph, someone who's a colleague of her husband in the Keystone State, and someone who happens to be my very first guest on A More Perfect Union back in May 2022, making a special in-studio appearance We're joined by the Honorable Malcolm Kenyatta, Pennsylvania State Representative representing the 181st District in North Philly. Also, the DNC Vice Chair. Welcome.
Happy to be here, and I cannot believe that we're talking about May of 2022.
That's right.
That this show started, and I can't believe I'm coming here correcting you out of the gate because you called Shirley Ralph's character in Abbott Elementary Barbara, like you know her like that. Her name is Mrs. Howard. Okay, I just want to say for the people, that's just Mrs. Howard.
Oh,
okay?
Mrs. Howard. Okay, look, North Philly, come to L.A. You know, you can
My
take him
mama
out.
raised me. Okay,
You can take
Mrs.
him
Howard.
out of North Philly. You can't take the North Philly out of him. You have very fond memories with Shirley Ralph, who is no stranger to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so she, just an incredible person. Put aside the talent and passion and emotion that she brings to the screen. You have somebody who has spent a lifetime of real service, using the platform that she has built because of that talent to get people tested for HIV every single year across Philly. She has, for probably over a decade now, led a critical public campaign to get people tested, trying to make sure that particularly in the Black community, people know their status and are doing the things they need to do to keep themselves safe. She's been an outspoken advocate for the LGBTQ community. She's been somebody who has been insistent about us doing the hard work that you and I have talked about on the show repeatedly of building community. And so there's nobody who is more worthy to be honored in that way than our very own Shirley Ralph. I know she lives out here a little bit, but we're gonna claim her.
Oh, there you go.
We're gonna claim her as an East Coast Philly girl.
Okay, North Philly, we got it. We got it from a More Perfect Union alumni to another alumni. She's been a guest on the show.
I do know that.
It's a pretty impressive alumni roster.
It really is, and when you start out with Philly, great things are bound to happen.
Maybe like the Constitution. We'll talk about that and more
right.
when we come forward. George Clooney, he isn't sorry that he urged Dems to dump Biden, and in an unprecedented move, certain DNC official is planning to spend some big money to take down fellow Democrats. We're going to get Malcolm's thoughts on all of that and more. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, and it's almost time to celebrate KBLA's 4th anniversary, coming up Juneteenth 2025. We'll be marking the achievement with 4 key community events, including a special symposium, luncheon, and brain trust hosted by me entitled The State of Black Women in Los Angeles. Keep it locked here for details on how to join us for this groundbreaking symposium examining the unique challenges, triumphs, and contributions of Black women in Los Angeles in the areas of education, healthcare, community leadership, cultural and political contributions. This public convocation will provide a critical forum to address the specific social, economic, and political realities facing Black women in LA today. We'll go live with a radio broadcast and YouTube live stream, a public discussion, and a private dialogue with some of LA's most impactful women. It's an affirmation of Black women standing at the intersection of race and gender in times of adversity while demonstrating remarkable resilience and leadership. We will listen and we will speak out and be heard, all in service of finding opportunities and solutions. Please plan to join us in celebrating our 4th anniversary by amplifying the voices of Black women. For more on our symposium and 4 events celebrating 4 years on the air, simply stay tuned or keep an eye on KBLA1580.com and help make this Juneteenth more jubilant with all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
How serious is youth vaping? Irreversible lung damage serious. 1 in 10 kids vape serious, which warrants a serious conversation from a serious parental figure like yourself. Not the seriously know-it-all sports dad or the seriously smart podcaster. It requires a serious conversation that is best had by you. No, seriously, the best person to talk to your child about vaping is you. To start the conversation, visit talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hit me! National News The Consequence. Informed opinion. And analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. Delighted to have, again, our very first guest ever, the Honorable Malcolm Kenyatta, representing the people of North Philly. He is here for the first time in studio.
Big deal.
It's a very big deal.
I love this.
Well, we love this, and we love you. But it seems that George Clooney's love for Joe Biden has waned quite a bit. Vanity Fair reporting that George Clooney is not sorry that he urged Dems to dump Joe Biden, and says that Maryland's Wes Moore is his new fave. Now, I saw this and I made a face. I made a face because in the midst of everything that's happening right now in our country, the fact that you have, a very notable, very wealthy, very loyal Democratic donor, George Clooney, that is opining on 2028 when there's a lot of time and there's going to be a lot of damage between now and 2028. And so, that's my take. That's my hot take. What's your hot take?
Listen, my take is pretty lukewarm. He has access to a microphone, and he's going to use it to say things that he wants to say. But I would underscore what you said. There are things that we have to work on right now. We have a president of the United States that thinks he is a king. And every single day we need to disabuse him of that notion. And I was incredibly heartened, frankly, by what we saw out of the Fourth Circuit Appeals Court, which came out today. If folks haven't read it, just Google that to see a scathing opinion in response to this administration trying to appeal as it relates to the gentleman who they have kidnapped from Maryland, Mr. Kilgore from Maryland, and sent to a life sentence in a hellscape in El Salvador without any due process. And the Fourth Appeals Court basically rejected him trying to appeal some of the moves by the district judge that's handling the case, and effectively just laid out what I just said, that we cannot have a country where the president can ignore courts, can ignore the Constitution, can ignore basic common sense, and just grab people off of the damn street, send them to another country, and then use all of our taxpayer dollars to leave those folks who've had no trial, no conviction, in conditions that are inhumane, to put it mildly, and some have even called them, conditions that really resemble concentration camps. And we saw from Senator Van Hollen, who was on the ground in El Salvador yesterday, who spoke with the vice president of El Salvador, attempted to reach Mr. Kilgore personally, either by phone or in person, and was rejected by the El Salvadorian government. And he revealed something that is critical for all of us to know, that they are spending our tax dollars. If you just filed your taxes like I did a couple of days ago, to keep somebody illegally locked up behind bars. And so I think that everybody who has a platform and a microphone need not be talking about the 2024 election or the 2028 election, need to be talking about the reality of what's happening all across this country, frankly.
And that is what we will be focused on right here, because any president that thinks it's okay to suspend due process, because that's what we're watching. You know, today is Mr. Kilgore. Tomorrow, it could be any one of us. But suspending due process is, quite frankly, suspending the Constitution.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, when you are pulled over by the police and taken into custody, you know what they do? They read you your Miranda rights. You have the right to an attorney. You have the right to remain silent. You have a right to plead your case before a judge and a jury of your peers. And the moment we stop doing that, the moment we say it's okay for a president to decide who's afforded due process and who's not, based on how they voted, based on their wealth, based on their proximity to his power, right? Turning back from that will be harder than you think.
And to do so in a moment where they've made clear that he was wrongfully, mistakenly taken, and to then do nothing to bring him back, really speaks to what he said in the campaign. And I remember coming on here many times and saying to folks that this guy says he wants to suspend the Constitution. And we're seeing a prime example of it right now.
Yeah. Well, I also know that your other half, Dr. Matt, is a university professor. And so I know the administration's focus on impeding academic freedom, their focus on remaking higher education and their image is something that hits very close to home. I know former President Joe Biden, who you have long supported, he applauds Harvard's resistance at a private Kennedy School event. The Harvard Crimson reporting that the former president celebrated the decision to defy demands from the Trump administration at a private Institute of Politics seminar hosted by his former senior advisor, Mike Donnellan. And I wanted to get your take on the importance of not just President Biden and former President Obama, but Republican former President George W. Bush sort of weighing in on what is happening, the assault on higher education.
You know what? The assault on higher education really dovetails with something that was said, well, at least reported today, from Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, who was answering a question from a constituent who said they're afraid. And she revealed in a very telling moment that she, a U.S. senator who's been elected now 3 or 4 times,
a Republican,
is afraid to speak up against what's happening right now in this government. She said that she is fearful of using her voice because we have a president that is so vindictive and so dangerous that she and others in her caucus are not pushing back. But I think what's important in this moment, and Harvard is a prime example of it, when you're afraid, the most important thing to do is to not cower. That's when you speak up even more. That's when you make clear what our values are, what our rules of the road are, what our laws are, and push back against this lawless administration. You know, there is an incredible book that everybody should read from Timothy Snyder called On Tyranny. He is the foremost expert on authoritarian dictatorships around the world, the expert. And he wrote a very short book, little tiny coffee table book. One of the things he says in it is that in authoritarian regimes, most of their power is freely given. Mm-hmm. It's not taken. It's not the military in the street. It's freely given by people who are too afraid to speak up. And so seeing Harvard take a 180 from what we've seen so far from these major law firms who have, bent the knee is important. And hopefully, I think will supercharge other institutions standing up.
In our remaining minutes with the Honorable Malcolm Kenyatta, representing the people of North Philly, I take your point, and I'm thinking of that famous quote from Alice Walker, the author of The Color Purple, who said, the quickest way that we give away our power is by first believing that we don't have any. Juxtapose that against your colleague, David Hogg, the DNC vice chair, who believes he has a lot of power. Politico reporting in an unprecedented move that David Hogg, the DNC vice chair, plans to spend some big money to take down fellow Democrats. Leaders We Deserve, which is Hogg's organization he co-founded in 2023, they announced plans just this past Tuesday to spend $20 million in safe blue Democratic primaries against sitting House members by supporting younger opponents. This is your colleague over at the DNC. You two are the DNC vice chair. What do you say about this?
Well, listen, I learned about it shortly before the story came out, and we have a big difference of opinion on this. But let me just step back by saying, I have a lot of respect for David, and I think he and I share a view that we need a government that reflects the fullness of the American experience. And we have people who are my age and younger who are going to live with the consequences of what's happening right now on climate change, on housing, on our democracy. I mean, I have a whole documentary called Do Not Wait Your Turn that I was here at Chapman University talking to students, about. And so that's really important that, people who have a passion for serving their community step up. However, the DNC has an important role, and that role has to be about, first and foremost, respecting the will of the voters. The DNC does not pick our nominees. Voters pick our nominees, and then it's our job to go out and support those nominees. And so we have a difference of opinion. I signed a pledge that's in line with those values to not engage in primaries because I think to anybody who's paying attention, we understand that it's a core question of fairness, a core question of whether or not people can trust us to be fair arbiters as people go through complex primary processes. And we need to support whoever comes out on the other side of that because we're respecting the will of the voter.
Well, we'll have to have you back as things continue to shake up and heat up. Yeah. Within the Democratic National Committee. We are honored to have you right here with us in studio. Our thanks to the Honorable Malcolm Kenyatta, again representing the folks of the 181st District in North Philly.
And don't let anybody say I don't love the West Coast, okay? I just want that to be put that on the record.
The water here is fine. We got a lot of work to do here in California. I'm just saying. You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. A really phenomenal author joins me next.
If you're looking to be engaged, enlightened, and empowered about issues related to national politics, elections, identity, culture change, and social justice, you've tuned into the right place. A More Perfect Union continues when we come forward.
Have we lost our way tonight? Have we lost our hope to sorrow?
I'm Esther Dillard with 4 things you should know from BIN News. 2 people are dead and 5 people hurt after a shooting around noon at Florida State University. The FSU police chief says the gunman is a current student at the school. The 20-year-old shooter is the son of a sheriff's deputy and had access to one of her weapons. The Supreme Court will hear arguments on birthright citizenship next month. President Trump signed an executive order ending automatic birthright citizenship as enshrined in the Constitution's 14th Amendment. Just days before municipal runoff elections are held in Mississippi, Democratic U.S. Representative Benny Thompson, who is black, announced his endorsement of State Senator John Horhn over black incumbent Chokwe Antar Lumumba for mayor of the city of Jackson. And Kodak Black reportedly has paid rent for more than 200 residents at a Florida housing community. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Crash in Burbank on the 134 westbound past Alameda. It's blocking the carpool lane. You've got a slow drive getting away from Forest Lawn Drive. Also, a couple of problems starting in Irvine for the 5 northbound at the 133. It's a crash blocking the carpool and the left lane. And ahead on the 5 in Anaheim northbound before Catella, another crash blocking the left lane. Overall slowing getting away from Alton Parkway. It's tough into Anaheim, or make that leaving Anaheim 91 eastbound from Kramer Glassell. Delays taking you ahead all the way to Green River.
You're going to want to sit down for this. the jumbo breakfast platter from Jack in the Box. No, seriously, it's so munch food. There's French toast sticks, grilled sausage patty, hash brown, and scrambled eggs, all for just $4.99. Get all this and so much more at Jack in the Box.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Big props to the Rams. The Rams will make their picks for the NFL Draft at the LA Fire Department's Air Operations Headquarters in Van Nuys. The Rams are paying tribute to the responders who helped battle the wildfires in January. $3 million have been donated by the Rams for relief efforts. The 3-day NFL Draft begins April 24th in Green Bay. Barring a trade, the Rams will have the 26th pick in the first round. The Chargers' first-round pick is at number 22. Serena Williams made Time Magazine's list for the top 100 most influential people in 2025. The Compton native, now 43, retired from tennis in 2023. Her last event was the U.S. Open in 2022. There are reports circulating that former Tennessee quarterback Nico Imaliva is preparing to transfer to UCLA. Imaliva, who grew up in Long Beach, led Tennessee last season to the college football playoffs. Stay tuned. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, this is Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, and for over 20 years, Parkside Economic Development Corporation has served Leimert Park and surrounding communities, empowering tomorrow's leaders and changing lives. Parkside EDC has awarded over $400,000 in college scholarships while sharing economic principles of the Big Five of money with students and their families. Parkside EDC partners with organizations like the Brotherhood Crusade to assure our youth have the financial acumen to succeed. Parkside EDC provides families and businesses with financial insights, offering free online, on-site, and on-air B-Warp presentations. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Programs helps our community acquire, sustain, and pass down legacy wealth. High school seniors can apply for this year's scholarship awards at parksideedc.org. Scholarships will be awarded at Parkside EDC's Gospel/Jazz Brunch on Sunday, April the 27th. For details, is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least likely to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Mother, there's too many of you crying. Brother, there's far too many of you crying. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Yeah. Father, we don't need to escalate. You see, war is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate. You know we've got to find a way Some love here today.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. I'm really delighted to welcome author Bridget J. Harris, the author
Hello,
of
hello.
Hello, the author of a new memoir that y'all need to make sure you check out. It's called Therapy, Wine, and God. And it is a beautiful, honest, faith-forward exploration of womanhood, of emotional healing, of family, and it's told through the lens of her lived experience as a Black woman navigating fertility challenges and becoming a first-time mom after 40, embracing this blended family and finding peace through surrender. You over there telling somebody's story. This is a testimony. Welcome
You
to the show,
know,
Bridget.
thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your contribution to the canon of works that are helping us to go a little bit deeper, to get a little bit higher. Talk to us about
Yes.
what inspired this new memoir, Therapy, Wine, and God.
Therapy, Wine, and God. So, yes, Therapy, Wine, and God. This is my first memoir, and it really started with my dad. So, my dad is also a writer. He's an author, he's a playwright, a journalist, and he used to always tell me I should write a book, I should write a book. And I could never really pinpoint what I wanted the story to be. Like, what would the story actually be? And the stories that connect to me the most, that I resonate with most, are those stories that are like raw, kind of hyper human stories. And those that explore, I love a good superhero, don't get me wrong, but the stories that explore the range of, love and loss and good decisions and bad decisions and good people making bad decisions and redemption and triumph and, failure, all of those things are what I wanted my story to be about. And so when I found myself in a very, what I would call, intense moment of transition and transformation, it was just like, oh, I have a story worth telling now. Like, now I feel like I have a story worth sharing and worth telling. And some of the stuff you talked about, just navigating becoming a mom after 40, being in a long-term relationship, loving real long and real wrong. And it happens to the best of us. It
Right?
happens to the best of us.
You tell somebody's story.
Right. And just, trying to find your purpose and your footing. And so while I was somewhat in the thick of it, I do think that I started to gain a little bit of clarity. I was in this major transition, which I talk about in the book, that happened in such a short amount of time. And I really want to just share my story with honesty. I think a lot of things that I talk about, a lot of us experience, but we don't always talk about it out loud. And I'm really hoping that people read it and just feel seen and feel like somebody else gets it. And that it
Yeah.
helps other people who may be dealing with similar stuff along the way.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I loved out the gates about your work is that I don't think I've ever seen a book title with those three words: therapy, wine, and God. I think there's a lot of people out there, some holy rollers out there,
Yes,
say
yes,
that those things don't mix. Therapy, wine,
yes.
and God. There's some people out there that say, okay, bump therapy, you just need to pray on it, right? Or some people that just, reach for the next drink, right?
Yep, yep.
But talk to us about therapy, wine, and God as your winning combination.
Yes. And you hit the nail on the head. Like, I wanted to use this to also kind of dismantle the thought that therapy and spirituality are mutually exclusive, because they're not. Because as you said, like some people will say, well, I got prayer. What do I need therapy for? Or some people say, well, I need somebody to tell me what I need to be doing. And I just think they work so well together. I always say that, you know, I believe in God, and I also believe that professional help from a third party that's not my bestie, that's not my mom, can offer a different perspective to what you're going through. And if you think about it in terms of, like, I have one of my best friends is a therapist. Shout out Fanae. But she always says, like, life gonna give you this work no matter what. Good person, bad person, poor person, rich person, life got those hands. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if you rely on both spirituality, God, prayer, if you're going in the direction where you know life is about to give you those hands, you can pray for discernment. You can pray for strength to go that direction. Therapy will look at you and say, okay, because you're this height and you've never really been in a fight before, you might want to do a right hook and then duck and then uppercut left and then run. And it just gives you different tools. So you pray for the strength, and now let therapy give you the tools to actually navigate it. And so for me, therapy, I always say, like, therapy was my healing. That's where I get to unpack some of the stuff. And you don't have to have like traumatic childhood to go through therapy or some major thing. Sometimes you just need to talk through situations with another person. And so therapy was like my healing. Wine, I say, I link that to communion. So friendship, connection, and really allowing yourself the small indulgences that help keep the peace, you know. And so that's where I like in wine too. And then God being the anchor of it all. When I don't have it together, He does. That's what gets me through the chaos. So
I really enjoyed you walking us through your winning combination, which will, I'm sure, unlock an award-winning, best-selling book. We're talking about your new book, Therapy, Wine, and God. When we come forward, I want to talk to you about your journey to motherhood after the age of 40. I'm 41. I'm not a dad yet.
You got time.
The only thing I birthed thus far is my best-selling book, Kamala, the Motherland and Me. That was a labor of love. But I want to talk to you about your journey to motherhood and maybe compare notes from your journey to motherhood and perhaps my journey to fatherhood. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Bridget J. Harris, the author of Therapy, Wine, and God, when we come forward.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue. But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide Free and Gentle provides an excellent Tide clean, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues like dyes or perfumes. So it's gentle on your skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
Hi, I'm Joe Montaigne. Let's talk about veteran homelessness, because it's not just a housing issue, it's a human issue. Right now, we need LA property owners to open their doors and give veterans a safe place to call home. With guaranteed rent and dedicated support, you can be part of the solution. Learn how you can help. Email houseourvets@lacity.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. You're looking at Bridget J. Harris, author of Therapy, Wine, and God. After 2 decades in brand marketing, Bridget stepped into authorship with a mission to simply affirm women in transition and spark conversations about how faith and therapy and community support are all part of the healing journey. We love to amplify this kind of work right here on A More Perfect Union. I like to say we can't build a more perfect union if we're not in the business of building a more perfect you.
Yes. I love that.
You know,
Yep.
it starts with each one of us. We got to do that inside work before we can do any of the work on the outside. And with that, Bridget, let's talk about your journey to motherhood after the age of 40. This particular element of your story really hit. Certainly the journey to motherhood and fatherhood are a little bit different. The mechanics of it are a little bit different. Let me just say that.
Right.
But as someone who is now 41 and is thinking more and more and more about the next steps towards becoming a dad, if that's in the cards, talk to us about that journey, what that journey looked like for you becoming a mom after the age of 40.
Yes. And I will say this, like for the guys, you got more time. We got a clock and it's ticking all the time. But for my journey, I would say that it was something that I appreciate that happened a little bit later because, one, I know a little bit more about who I am. I'm a little bit more patient. I'm a little bit more grounded. I'm a little bit more intentional. And I kicked it. Like I was outside. Like I had a
outside.
Like 20s, great. 30s, great. I traveled, I've been to Africa twice, Italy, Turks and Caicos, France, Chamonix,
look, for the people who are streaming this live on the YouTube, you can see from Bridget's t-shirt, her ode to Love Jones, right? Did you get that shirt outside?
I didn't, but I got an Instagram thumb that just buys everything. I wish I knew where I got it from, but it is one of my favorite stories when I talk about just humanity and like decision making and consequences. So yes, this is my favorite movie. Shout out to Love Jones and Nia Long. Get my book, Nia, if you're watching this, and you too, Lorenz. Me and Lorenz have the same birthday, so I think we're like besties. Anyway, I digress. But I ended up actually becoming a stepmom before becoming a mom. And so I talk about that and the challenge in that, and just being kind of immersed in motherhood, but it's not really yours. And I did always want to be a mom, but the older I got, I kind of was like, well, maybe it's not in the cards for me. And I started to be okay with that. And then once I reconnected with my now husband who had kids, and then I'm like around kids, I'm like, okay, I want to do it. But that took, I found out that, through the process of trying to conceive, I found out that I had fibroids. And fibroids are, non-cancerous tumors that can live, in and around your uterus. And I had no idea that I even had them until I was trying to conceive, and then nothing was happening. And so, had to come to terms with that, find out, understand what fibroids even were. And then after that, had to go through surgery. And after a first surgery, having scar tissue, having to get a second surgery. And then they were so close together that I ended up saying, well, it scares me now because I've had 2 surgeries back to back. I'm still trying to get pregnant. The surgeries were removing fibroids from my uterus. And I ended up getting told that I needed a third one as well. And I got another opinion that looked me in my face and said, under no circumstance do I recommend you get a third surgery, because sometimes women will try so hard to fix their uterus that then they end up making it deteriorate and now they can't carry. And I go to my fertility specialist after my third opinion and I tell her, well, I just want to move forward because I was told that IVF was my best chance at conceiving. And I'm like, I just want to move forward. Got a third opinion. They said I don't need another surgery. We're good to go. And she looked at me and said, no surgery, no baby. And that was the sentence. And I looked at her and she looked at me and we sat there. Like, I don't know if you've seen that meme of Diddy and a guy that looks like, well, let's not talk about Diddy. I'm sorry. I digress. But it's a funny meme where they're just staring at each other. And that was us, just kind of like, and so I ended up getting the third surgery and just like praying to God that everything held tight. And then going through IVF. But none of this was something that, one, I thought that I needed. And nor was it something that I was prepared for, which, you never really can prepare for news like that. And so, yeah, it was just the twists and turns that got me there. My son, I did get pregnant. My son is now 2.5. So yes, thank you. So it's like, if you ever hear chaos in the background, that's him.
That's all right. Bridget,
yes.
in our remaining minutes, I want to ask you if you believe that you are a better mom to your 2-year-old today because of this journey, and if so, why?
I would hope that it has made me better. I think that patience is something that I've struggled with for a long time, and you're almost forced to be patient in a situation like that because, one, you don't know how it's going to turn out. And so I think the setup to that kind of, one, strengthened my faith, but it also made me more patient. And in the book, I talk a lot about surrender and just like knowing that God's plans sometimes are different, but better than your own. And so I think for that, it's made me more patient, more thankful. I think when you are trying to do something, it can just by default, once you get it, make you more appreciative of it. Not that surprise pregnancies aren't a thrill as well. But it's kind of like, I went through something for this. So I'm gonna hold it tight. Like I'm happy to be here. So I always say he is a prayer answered. And he's 2, so he's trying me. He's in that stage. And I'm from the 90s, nothing but. But I'm like, I gotta call people like, are we still gentle parenting? Is that we still doing that? Because he's trying me. But it's my patience that definitely helped me with my patience, and just I'm thankful and grateful.
Well, we're thankful and grateful that you stopped by to share a little bit of your story. Again, I want to encourage our leaders, learners, and listeners to pick it up. It's called Therapy, Wine, and God. And if you have found Bridget's voice during this interview to be relatable and wise and real, as I have, then you know that this story is going to deliver. A lot of people saying that it is a powerful, uplifting story that really resonates with folks who are on their own healing journey. And so if you know someone that can relate to any of this, becoming a mom, or even becoming, a dad, becoming a parent over the age of 40, or reconciling, their faith with communion and therapy, then this is a journey that you definitely want to go on.
And it's not just for women. I write from a woman's point of view, but I think men can get something out of it too, for sure.
I would agree. Our thanks to Bridget J. Harris for joining us here on A More Perfect Union. When we come forward in our next hour, we're going to be talking to Trevor Rosier. He is the founder and CEO of Stackwell. It is a fintech company that you're going to want to know about. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Doug Davis with 4 things you should know with BIN News. 2 are dead and others injured after a shooting at Florida State University. The gunman, a 20-year-old student and son of a sheriff's deputy, used one of her guns and has been apprehended and is in the hospital after being shot by police. The Tennessee Black Caucus is criticizing House Majority Whip Johnny Garrett for gifting actual whips to deputy whips, calling it a lack of awareness. They urged lawmakers to consider the emotions of African-American members. Lakeview, Minnesota area schools will pay $30,000 to settle a lawsuit over Black Lives Matter posters. A judge dismissed claims of civil and free speech violations after the district rejected requests for All Lives Matter and Blue Lives Matter messaging. And in Florida, the state case against singer Sean Kingston, who is Black, and his mother is temporarily on hold